Hello, this is Metal Grove Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Egan. Today I have with me an artist I first started listening to in the 90s, composer, producer, and musician Scott Hackwith from the band Dig. Thanks so much, Scott, for talking to me today.
Yeah, of course, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how's it going? So you live in Seattle now, is that right?
I live probably like 40 minutes outside of Seattle in a small little town.
Okay.
Which is I'm loving at the moment. It's really nice. I'm actually in LA right now.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yes, I love it there. I've been there about a year now.
Cool. Good to hear. Well, I guess I just wanted to ask, how did you get started in music? What were your, first musical influences and then I guess, how you got into, producing for soundtracks. So,
Yeah, well, it all started. I had an older sister. She was probably like 5 years older than me, and she was really into music. So I grew up on listening to her records, was like Elton John, Pink Floyd, just like all the greats like Rolling Stones, and I was fascinated by music I was probably when I started listening like a five years old, six or something. But I would
mhm.
put her headphones on and I could listen to Dark Side of the Moon over and over again. I knew every note, every chime.
Yeah.
And then, and it's funny because then, like the electric guitar, the sound of the electric guitar, I just loved it.
Hmm.
Um, then it was years later, probably like when I was in the eighth grade, we moved. We lived in a really small town when I was growing up, like population like 300, this little place called Lacumba. So really isolated. But we moved to San Diego, and so that was like the big city. I had no friends, so my mom suggested that I start uh, guitar lessons. And so that was, she bought me this acoustic guitar, which I still have, and that I write most of my songs on. Um, and that was the start of it. Once I started playing and figuring out how to play, it became an obsession. And learning like Judas Priest songs and really into metal when I was younger. And
Hmm.
then I got a punk rock girlfriend, started getting into different types of music, and but that was my mainstay was just playing the guitar, and I could spend all day by myself in a room playing guitar. Then I started recording. Like I got a little 4-track machine. Um, and then that was a complete obsession. And I started writing my own songs because I was super lazy about learning other people's songs. So I just started doing my own. But that's how it all got started. Um, and I was just always fascinated. I had friends that had older brothers that were in bands, and we'd go watch them, and I was just like, this is the most amazing thing in the world. Then I started jamming with like my friends in bedrooms, and it was just the that's all I did. That was it in my life, was music. Everything else was secondary.
So then how did you form Dig? Like how did you guys meet?
uh so Dig came about. I had actually I moved from San Diego to Los Angeles because I got into this band, TSOL.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
TSOL was looking for a guitar player. I answered an ad. I got in the band, and so I toured with TSOL for a good 4 years as their
Hmm.
guitar player. So that was kind of my college years.
Yeah.
Um, I met so many people through them, and club promoters, and I learned how to tour. I just learned everything from the ground up, how the business worked. Um, I at the same time I was constantly still writing my own music and 4-tracking stuff when I was at home, not on tour. And then it came a time when it was like I felt like I needed to do my own thing, and I had a batch of songs, about an album's worth, which is the first album. I had those songs written and demoed. That's it.
This one right here.
That's it.
Yep.
So I had most of those songs were written, and then I started putting a band together around those songs. So I'd have players come over to my little home studio and lay down tracks over the top of what I had going on.
Hmm.
Eventually, settling in with the guys that became Dig, and we would rehearse, 5 days a week at least. I mean, we were, we everybody in the band was really into it, and we loved to rehearse and get tight, and we did that for a good like 3 months. When we would go and play little shows like outskirts of town. Um, I didn't really want to play LA because, like I said, I was like touring with TSOL, and LA at that time. There was a few clubs that you could go play, but it just felt to me like once you started playing those clubs, you never left LA. It was kind of you would play. There was a place called like the Coconut Teaser that bands would play. Once they started playing there, they'd never stop and it never really went anywhere. And I don't know why that was, but there was no real scene, and at that time, that was the shift between hair metal and whatever, alternative music. And so things were shifting a lot, but we would go out to little shows, like little biker bars and out to like in Riverside and weird places around LA just to get our sort of live chops down. And then I think it was our drummer at knew somebody from Radioactive, a girl that worked there, Karen. She came and saw us at a rehearsal, and then we had a couple other offers from some labels, but we had a thing, we wouldn't go play live for them. They would have to come down to our rehearsal space, so we had total control. We knew it sounded good.
Mm.
Um and again, like at that time, it was like corporate big labels were not cool, and we were looking for more of an indie label. And Radioactive was part of MCA, but Gary Kurfürst, the owner of Radioactive, he managed the Ramones, like Jane's Addiction back in the day, and he was just really tied into that. Just tons of like great music coming out of New York and stuff. So he was definitely the guy to sign with. We felt. Um, so that's how that all came about in the beginning.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's see. And then you did have a couple of other albums, and I listened to those in the last couple weeks, and those were really good. I was like, how come I never listened to those before? But yeah, those are really good too. Um, I guess so you had those albums, and then so you kind of took a break. Did you take a break from Dig, or how did you get
You know,
into?
I had to because um, now in the beginning with Dig, it was like the Wild West with alternative radio, like going out and tour. Like music scene at that point was just the most amazing thing. Like the best bands were out touring, and
Yeah. Yeah.
music really shifted into something that became creative again. Radio was like there was actual tastemakers choosing playlists, and
Mhm.
and so we toured in that time. When we came back, so we took way too long to do the second record. Once we came back, that whole landscape changed. Everything,
Mhm.
I think, like the corporate sort of takeovers of all the radio stations,
Yeah.
and playlists came about, and everything just sort of changed the second time about, and so did you know the interest of the labels and what they were pushing. I think um, it just you know, we had some success with our first record. When we came out with the second record, they wouldn't even do a video for us. It's like it was just. I mean, is that a horror story? Uh, well, what happened was this: is that MCA was the big label behind Radioactive, the money behind Radioactive, and MCA got swallowed up by Universal. So
Mm.
there's a horror story when your A&R guy gets fired from a label. It really sucks when you're in a band, because then like nobody's going to champion your band in that, and on that label.
Yeah.
Well, the entire record company got fired. Everybody that was
Mm.
worked that first record was gone, and it got moved over to Universal, and nobody gave a shit, about us. We weren't their band. That
Yeah.
with MCA, they loved us, because we were their token rock band. And there were a bunch of old rockers that were running that label, and they loved us, and they were gone that next time around. So it just became really difficult to get support, up until the point where they stopped paying, any money. So, and I just had my second child about that time, and I had a family to support, and so
Yeah.
there was no money coming in from them. They're loaning you money. They decided to stop loaning us money, but they wouldn't let us off the label, so I couldn't sign another deal with another label. So
Uh,
I had to figure out a way to earn a living. So before Dig, my day job was in film. I was an art director. I did like music videos and commercials and stuff like that. So I knew a lot of people in the business, and a lot of those people, by the time that I reached back out, were in positions to hire me to do music. So I started doing music for commercials and little documentaries or whatever I could do, and I had to figure out how to use the computer, at that time, because we were totally analog.
yeah.
Um, so figure out how to use computer, use the programs like Pro Tools or Pro Tools at the time wasn't even, that was like brand new. It was, I forget, I was using like Cubase or something. I don't know. But so that's how that happened. I still was making music for Dig, and I still had bands going, and we were trying to do new records. It just became harder to do because, obviously you have to make a living.
Yeah, definitely. So you got into, composing, well, like you had before, but for soundtracks. So what is that? That's very interesting to me. What is that process like of like making a soundtrack? That's like, I mean, I don't know if you can shorten it, but I know it's a lot of work, but like how do you even, um put together, what songs you want, or do you write all this, most of the songs? How does that work?
Well, I mean, typically you're going into a project, and you're being hired by somebody, and they usually have an idea of like what they want. Like the director will know what they want, or the
Hmm.
producers, they're looking for certain things. And if it's something like they want music that sounds like Dig, it's like, okay, I can do that. In commercials, it was anything and everything you could possibly think of. So it was just using reference music, and hiring the right musicians and people to work with to get certain sounds or certain production, or
Yeah.
um I mean, my thing was like, as long as I'm making music, I'm good. As long as I can make money making music. So it just became a different way to work, but I was still basically just recording tracks, and you come up with some stuff, you turn it in, you see if they like it. If they don't, then you work on new stuff, whatever. It's a process. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. And a lot of people told me, "No, don't do it," but
Yeah.
ignorance
Uh,
is bliss.
yeah, that's cool. I mean, I saw a lot of the projects you work on, and it's really interesting. Um, you worked with the Ramones, correct?
Yes.
And I actually listened to one of the albums, Acid Eaters. Was that one of their last studio?
Yeah, I think it was the record before the last one. They did
Okay.
one more after that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounded really good. It's got some covers on it. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's all the songs that inspired them to make
Oh, okay.
music. So it's all covers.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and it
all
started out
covers.
it was just going to be an EP, but then it was going really well, and they decided to make it a full LP.
Cool.
And yeah, it was Pete Townsend is I'm a huge fan. Like growing up, and
Yeah.
I was a huge fan. I forget which movie was it. I forget what's the big. And kids are all right. I don't know. Which some I used to watch over and over again, and Pete was just like, oh my god, I idolized that guy. And then he ended up coming and singing on the record on
Oh,
Substitute.
okay.
So it was great to like work with him and just yeah, a lot of great things came out of that record.
Yeah.
Just yeah, and just having the opportunity to work with them was incredible.
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, and for me, because I wasn't, a lot of my stuff I learned off of 4 track. I did the dig stuff, but that was it. I maybe worked with a few other like LA bands, but very minimal my experience, and so I was very fortunate that they trusted me enough to go and fill that spot for them.
yeah, that is so cool. Um, I guess even along that line too, with Pete Townsend, because I never knew who Thunderclap Newman was. Like I heard the name, but I never knew who was in the band. So I was researching that because you guys just put out the single, um,
Right.
Something in the Air. And yeah, that is a very interesting project that he had. And how did you pick that song to do?
John, our guitar player, suggested it, and I knew the song, of course, and I've always loved it, and it really, it's very timely, with the
Yeah.
lyrics of the song is kind of perfect for right what we're all going through at the moment.
Yeah. That's
So
why I asked. I was like, hmm.
yeah, no, it was perfect, and it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
Um, my friend Barrett Jones, which I've done a couple records with in the past, he produced it, and he produced like that first Foo Fighters record and some
Okay.
Nirvana stuff, and he's got a studio up in Seattle. So I've been working with him a lot lately. So yeah, he produced and mixed it and played drums on it. Yeah, it was a fun process, and people seem to like it. It seemed we've getting a bit of mileage out of it. We got our album drops starts streaming tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
The new record, Um, so that was a good lead up, because we dropped that single like about a month ago, and we're
Yeah.
still getting some airplay. KEXP played it yesterday, and so I mean, whenever you hear yourself on the radio, you get very excited, and
Yes, definitely. And especially a classic song like that, you're like, oh man,
yeah,
that's really cool. Um, so what are your plans? You have the new album coming out. Are you gonna play some shows, do a little tour, or what do you?
yes. I mean, that's the plan. It's most of it's going to happen next year.
Okay.
We have a new booking agent that we just started working with, that we're excited about, and so yes, that's the plan, is to go start doing little festivals, doing as many dates as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems from our era, there's a lot of bands touring right now, and so
Yeah.
now it feels like now's the time to sort
Yeah.
of take advantage of the fact that these bands are out touring, like '90s bands,
Yeah.
which are it's totally and they're all everybody's putting out new records, so it's but yeah, the it seems that now's the moment to get on a good package tour of like we love local H, and Filter and and everybody that's out doing stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. So hopefully you guys can come down to Arizona and play.
definitely, we've always had good times in Arizona. So
Yeah. Yeah, let me know if I can tell you some I'm sure your guy will find the venues, but if you need any, ideas. But
oh, definitely, definitely. Like once we get we have some dates. Like having help in town and hooking up with like record shops, and if you know anybody like that,
yeah.
where we love doing like in stores and that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
I got this at Zia's. So
Okay, I remember that. I remember
yes,
that place. Yeah.
Zia's is they still do in-store stuff and they're the best record stores that I think there's probably, I don't know, like 10 locations around Arizona. So yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last couple questions here. I always like to ask people like, I know you're doing music all the time, but do you like have any other like hobbies? Are you a sports fan? What do you like to do besides music?
I'm not a sports fan. I just felt like I've never had the time to devote to being a fan because I'm
Yeah.
always doing other stuff. But I, well, living where I live now, I'm out in the most beautiful nature, trees and rivers, and so I got a bike and I have a path that's about 60 miles long. So I do that almost daily. I go out and do a bike ride in nature. Um, and making little films and photography, that's always been, I mean, I used to do everything for the band since I would had that background and having all my connections and friends that would help me make videos. So I'm still doing that. So I plan on doing a lot more of that for this new record,
Yeah.
which is very time consuming. And so, yeah, what do I do? That's a good question. I don't do much of anything. I watch a lot of like YouTube, like cop shows, probably way too much. Trying to stop that. He's trying to stay off social media.
Yeah.
I got this thing called the brick, so that
Oh,
you can't go on any. You have to actually. It's like a magnet on my refrigerator, so I actually go up to it and tap it to unbrick
okay.
my phone, which has
Yeah.
really helped. So the brick.
Yeah, I should do that too. So, well, thanks so much, Scott. And yeah, I'll be in touch if you need any help with contacts out here and we'll do this again. Maybe if next year you come, we can do another interview to promote the tour if you come and yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll definitely keep you posted and let you know when we're on our way out there or whatever. So
Okay.
we'll be in touch.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, man. All right, Ryan. Take care.
You too.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.